Hey y'all, Shane from Personal Survival Solutions, coming to you with the last video in the series for basic rifle marksmanship and positions. Today we're going to do standing offhand and standing offhand with utilization of the sling for stability. So the first thing I want to talk about is stance when we're standing up. That first part of the 7 fundamentals of marksmanship that we talked about in the beginning video. So it's just a fighting mobile stance. Since I'm right-handed, my right foot's going to go back, feet a little bit more than shoulder width apart with this right foot that's back. If I take and draw a line from my right toes, it should intersect about the middle of my left foot, or if I want to get real aggressive, back to the heel if I draw that line across. A little bit of bend in my knees, weight up on the balls of my feet, okay? And then I want to have my tailbone centered over my hips. When I drive the gun forward, and we intuitively want to face the threat anyway because of the physiology that's going on in our body when we get that adrenaline, cortisol, and that chemical cocktail that happens. So I want to point toes, hips, and shoulders to wherever I'm shooting or wherever the threat is. Okay. My master grip, my 3 amigos here, my little finger, my ring finger, and my Tennessee driving finger, and my middle finger are going to come up nice and high. It's just a firm grip on here. My thumb is going to stay relaxed so I can actuate the safety on and off as I build that cheek weld, and I made that conscious decision to engage. My support hand here is, I want to get it far out on the handguard as possible. I happen to point my finger. It's what Benny Cooley taught me years ago. But what that does is it helps me drive the gun, and where I think a lot of people make a mistake is I wrap this thumb over the top, but I'm not really applying any grip pressure here. This is just here to control the front of the gun and to be able to drive it laterally if I have to for multi-target or multi-threat. The stock is going to come up, it's a hinge point in my shoulder, a pivot point in my shoulder. We really only use the bottom part of the stock, and I want to get it more center line towards my collarbone, so when I bring the gun up in line, into my line of vision, okay, I'm bringing this elbow down and I'm rolling this shoulder forward, which is going to bring the sights up in that line of vision. So as I face the target here, okay, if we're really working marksmanship, we can get that natural point of aim like we did in the other positions. So I can aim in on the target. Notice I bring that elbow down, I roll that shoulder up, and it brings the iron sights into my line of vision. In order to check my natural point of aim, I'm going to close my eyes, take a couple deep breaths, let everything relax. And I'm worried about left and right. I'm not worried about up and down. If I'm a little bit left and right, I need to move my feet, hips, and shoulders, or i.e. my whole body, to get that in line so I'm centered up, because that's where the gun wants to go. In that nanosecond that mini explosion goes off, every muscle in my body relaxes, and then I tense up. So if I'm muscling the gun over, when my muscles relax, I'm going to pull the muzzle and misorient it and misalign the sights to somewhere else other than where I want the bullet to go. Okay? Once I get it to here and I build a cheek weld, I made a conscious decision to engage. I'm going to flip the safety off, finger's going to roll into the trigger, and I'm going to apply those fundamentals of marksmanship. I'm going to take the slack out of the trigger, I'm going to verify my sights, and then I'm going to smoothly press through. Resetting the trigger, taking the slack out, verifying my sights, smoothly pressing through. Each time assessing my work through my sights. Take the slack out of the trigger, find my front sight, verify it, smoothly press through. Safety can go on, I can assess and scan, etc., etc. Now if I want to utilize the sling to add stability in this standing offhand, as I go to get into that position, I'm going to reach up and grab the running end of my sling and get all that tension out of it. As I drive the gun up and I bring my shoulder and corkscrew that pivot point in, bringing it into my line of vision, my elbow on my support hand is going to come in and it's going to lock that sling in, so then I've got that added level of stability. And then same thing as far as fundamentals of marksmanship. Okay, slack out of the trigger, verify the sight. Slack out of the trigger, verify the sight. Slack out of the trigger, verify the sight, so on and so forth. I can assess and scan. All the fundamentals that we've talked about throughout, from the prone moving all the way up to the standing offhand position, which would be our least stable position, they all apply. Everything is the same. Okay? pressing the trigger and going through the cycle of function, cycle of recoil, and then resetting the trigger. We do it very deliberately when we're in the prone or we're shooting groups, where I pin it to the rear to allow the gun to function so I don't misalign the sights while the bullet's still traveling down the barrel. We do it the exact same way when I'm in standing offhand, or when I'm doing a more dynamic application of this. We're just doing it at a more accelerated rate. So that concludes the video series for basic rifle marksmanship with the positional shooting and utilization of the sling for added stability. Next, we're going to get into more practical application with the rifle in a subsequent video series that will start next week. And we'll talk about the ready positions that we teach here at Personal Survival Solutions. And then we're going to start working at extreme close proximity with those ready positions to simulate kind of if we're in a house. So until then, always vigilant, always prepared, and we'll see you on the range.